Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they released, and today we're talking about Lost and Delirious from 2001. My name is Kevin Tudor. I'm here with Bryden Doyle.
Hello.
And Charlie Nash.
Hello.
And joining us once again is Jacob Oller. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. Once again, we were talking about Lost and Delirious from 2001. This premiered at Sundance January 2001, opened limited on July 6th, 2001 on 7 theaters and maxed out at 20 theaters. I could not find the budget for this. Opening weekend is $41,000, domestic gross of $302,000, and overall gross of $396,000. Top 5 films this week is Cats and Dogs, Scary Movie 2, AI, Artificial Intelligence, Kiss of the Dragon, and The Fast and the Furious.
I have seen all but Kiss of the Dragon.
I have seen that one. Not so good.
Okay.
Although I don't know, I guess if you're into it, you could see chopped up Jet Li fight scenes set to mystical. I guess if that's your thing.
I thought you were going to say nu metal, but that's the one. That's the one I need to see, is the one.
That would be so much fun. Yeah.
Are we all in the AI was a misunderstood masterpiece boat here?
Haven't seen it, but I have seen The Terminal.
I also haven't seen it because everyone keeps telling me it's gonna make me weep, and I don't want to. I don't want to like set aside an afternoon to be like time to weep.
It really upset me when I watched it as a kid when I was Haley Joel Osment's age, and I remember thinking, this is definitely a movie for, like, grown-ups. I bet when I'm a grown-up it won't upset me as much. No, it is far more disturbing and upsetting when you're an adult watching it.
I imagine I'm going to love it. I imagine everything's going to really align for me because I've been going through kind of later Spielberg stuff, or maybe not later, but like mid Spielberg stuff, I guess is how you have to look at it now, which is crazy. Yeah. But War of the Worlds like hit me in a very emotional place on top of like the excellent sci-fi filmmaking, so I'm imagining a lot of that is going to come up as well.
Oh yeah, one of the most terrifying CG bears you'll ever see. AI is good stuff. Number 1 song in the US this week is You Remind Me by Usher. I feel like we've had that 9,000 times. Number 1 song in Canada this week is Pop by NSYNC. That is a toss-up. I love both songs. What can I say? Plot description from Google. Lost and Delirious is about a friendship of 3 teenagers and how they experience it in a private school. Throughout the film, the Lost Girls question their relationship with one another and the authorities of others while desperately attempting to seek out true love. That's a vague-ass plot description. Google, do better. Adapted by Judith Thompson from the book The Wives of Bath by Susan Swan. Is this where we talk about the book and film differences, or should I?
This is where we have to talk about how Judith Thompson did this movie dirty, because I think it's her.
Okay.
I think it's her fault.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Well, and all the slow motion.
Oh God.
Oh.
There's a lot of crazy slow motion, but I reading like the plot description. I don't know about the writing itself, but based on The Wives of Bath by Susan Swan, right? Apparently inspired by her own childhood experiences, which, okay, not a chance.
No.
And then like a Toronto boarding school rather than like Quebec where they shot it, I think.
But like the novel is fascinating and has so many more layered dynamics between sort of the point of view character, who in the movie's case is nothing and nobody, and in the book's case is like really injected into the love triangle in a very real sense.
So wait, have you read the book?
No, I just went through the whole. There's like a very thorough plot summary on Wikipedia.
Oh, yes, there is.
So I was like, don't mind if I do. Let's check this out.
Yeah.
It's insane. It has some stuff about JFK where the main character is like obsessed with JFK, which is hilarious. A cool thing to be obsessed with. But there's a lot more nuance to, I think, the relationship that the girls have with each other. There's a lot more like, I think, interesting stuff to do with gender identity that is not played with at all, really, in the film. That I think that does a huge disservice to, like, burgeoning queerness and sexuality and like trying to figure out what that means for you within the confines of society. Like all that stuff sounds really cool in the book. Maybe the book fucks it up, but to not touch any of that, I think is a coward ass move, and I think makes the film seem pretty light in comparison.
Yeah, I think like I saw on the that same Wikipedia page, like Julia Thomason said, like, I don't know, I'm not really sure how we would have been able to like capture like filming all this stuff that happens in the book, and it's like, yeah, also should you? Because like I was reading about it where it's like she like it's not just like that. There's like a it's a closeted gay character, but then also like they're pretending to be a guy, and in order to fulfill that, they castrate someone and glue on like male genitalia onto their body, and I'm like thinking. It's not like, are we like trafficking some like really bad stereotypes here with that book and everything? It's just, I mean, look, not to judge a book by its Wikipedia plot synopsis, of course,
but hold on,
Put that on my
wouldn't the
tombstone,
ending of this movie have been okay? So the shock of the ending of this movie is one thing, boo-hoo. The shock of what the movie ending could have been is the main character cuts the dick off of the janitor and glues it to herself. That would have been insane. Open at Sundance. I think that just for the novelty of it, we would be talking about it, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
That would have been nuts if this is the same movie, but it has that ending. I'd be like, wait a goddamn minute.
Yeah, because they do a thing where they're like, and this girl goes off the deep end in a dangerous way, and I'm like, seems pretty normal. She seems like she's being pretty normal. But man, she was one castration away from something.
Aren't we
something
all?
real interesting.
Well, I kept texting, and you mentioned the slow motion shots. There would be like the movie felt like consistently laid back in its filmmaking most of the time, and then there would occasionally be like that scene where it just kind of quickly zooms out, and Piper Perabo was like, laugh, where I'm like, is this gonna turn into a horror movie? It really feels like that. Like it just feels unhinged in a way that I felt it was gonna build up to at some point, but it just kind of felt like weird impulsive decisions that don't tonally gel with anything. The first time I got a sense that this movie was maybe not gonna be as coherent as I needed it to be or good was when when the hawk showed up. And then it started playing like flute music, and I was like, things are gonna take a turn. This is not gonna be very good.
I texted to Charlie and Kevin. I was like, I was not expecting so much stuff about birds in this movie. Like
wasn't expecting
out of nowhere.
Wasn't expecting this cool butch to commune with nature in such a literal way.
I think I texted Bryden and Kevin last night. Like, I just want Piper Perabo to turn into a giant hawk and murder everyone.
This almost turned into a fucking Animorphs movie, like very quickly.
That's what he said.
When she jumps off, I was like, and then she fulfills her purpose.
That would have been nuts. I mean, they could have done it because they got that hawk at the end where I was just like, you don't need all these damn shots of this hawk. What are you trying to say here?
Yeah. I also, my red flag, it's not really fair. This is kind of nitpicky, but it's like Misha Barton just arrives at the school and like someone immediately goes up to her and says, it really does get easier. And I'm like, she just got out of the car. Like,
well, she had that really emotional goodbye with her dad, I guess, and like this.
Well, she's just got one of those faces where it looks like she's just been hit.
Yeah.
It's okay. You won't be throwing up with Haley Joel Osment here. We're all good here.
I also made that joke that I wish that it was like when in early episodes of South Park where Stan always sees Wendy and vomits out of being nervous. I just wanted every time she sees anyone doing anything gay for her to just vomit Sixth Sense style.
Oh, man. Okay. Directed by Leah Poole. Prior to this, I'm going to be honest, a lot of these movies I've never heard of, but I will touch on some of the ones. Prior to this, Montreal Stories in 1991. This is an anthology film with segments directed by her, Adam McGoyan, Patricia Rozema, etc. That's also on YouTube. Very interested in that. Set Me Free in 1999. After this, a documentary called Pink Ribbons, Inc. in 2011, and The Passion of Augustine in 2015. Starring Piper Perabo as Polly. Prior to this, Coyote Ugly in 2000, of course. The Kevin Smith doctored script of Coyote Ugly. After this, Cheaper by the Dozen in 2003, Imagine Me and You in 2005, Law and Order Criminal Intent in 2009. Charlie, I know you're not as pervy to that, but I just wanted to say it. Looper in 2012, Angel Has Fallen in 2019, and 11 episodes of Yellowstone.
I can't believe you left off that she was in Rocky and Bullwinkle before this.
Oh yeah, true. I did forget that.
Robert De Niro turns her into a vegetable at one point in that movie. That movie has brain worms. Like, like I'm not even kidding. She's like a tomato person hybrid at one point. And I just think about how much I love that movie as a kid, and I'm like, this movie had Robert De Niro and Rene Russo and Jason Alexander. It was co-written by Kenneth Lonergan, and it's a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, and just fucking wild shit.
And
it's not good at all.
You were saying too that her character's name in it is Karen Sympathy, and I made the joke
Yep.
of how it's like the Solo scene where it's like, no people, we'll call you Solo. It's like, we want to like this character, we'll call her Karen
Sympathy. I love Kenneth Lonergan too much to ask him about Rocky and Bullwinkle, but I am very curious as to which decisions in the script were his ideas. So
I saw him at a screening in New York where he watched Yee Yee for the first time.
Oh, that
and
rules.
I should have just been like, "Hey man, Rocky and Bullwinkle, what's your deal?"
You just
like,
get in
yeah.
right behind and be like, not as good as Rocky and Bullwinkle, am I right?
Yeah. Margaret the extended cut? Nah, I don't know. Not Rocky and Bullwinkle. Yeah. I've also never seen Coyote Ugly.
It's boring. I mean, it's like, that's the thing. I think Ebert
Yeah.
in his review made like the good point of how it's like, it's PG-13, and it's like, why is this like not raunchier? And it's also just
Yeah.
about her like trying to pursue a music career and like also having this boring romance with some asshole or whatever, and it's like,
It's real
sucks.
like TNT at 6 o'clock movie.
Yeah, I pretty sure I rented that when I was like 9 for some reason. I probably liked it because I was 9. Jessica Perret as, is it Perret? Because I
Hooray, I think, because the
she's
accent
French.
at the
Perea.
end. Yeah, French Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah, as Tori prior to this Stardom in 2000, after this Wicker Park in 2004.
Based on the neighborhood I'm living in right now.
Oh, hell yeah. How accurate is it?
Well, it wasn't shot here at all. It was shot entirely in Canada.
Oh,
Well, the park part was. I think there's some Chicago location shoots here. It sucks. It's a bad movie.
There was like a month or two where I saw a trailer for Wicker Park before every single movie that I went to. It was like they tried so hard to make that thing happen, and it just landed.
They even showed it before Wicker Park.
Wow. They shot literally every street corner around the actual Wicker Park, and then that park that they used is in Canada somewhere.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible. So you're like, look at Chicago, and then you're like, I have no idea where we are. There's a portal.
Funny you say that, too, because, like, that makes me think of when I was watching a promo for the new Scream movie. They said, like, well, New York's, like, a character movie. I'm like, yeah, but you shot it in Quebec. So, like, how much is it really?
So it's just like it's a character. It's not an actor in the movie.
yeah. They're just like, hey, this is set on a subway, huh? There's subways in New York. We got this. Wicker Park made $13 million domestically. Also, Hot Tub Time Machine in 2010. Shout out to Mitchell. And 49 episodes of Mad Men.
She was Megan on Mad Men. I remember watching the Zooby Zooby Zoo episode live and with friends, and we were all just like, why are we so uncomfortable right now? Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with what she's doing. It's just, oh, Don doesn't like this. Like, just, this is not how you impress him.
Yeah. She's really... I haven't seen Mad Men. I've, of course, seen Hot Tub Time Machine, Brooklyn, and Lost and Delirious, of course. but yeah, no, she's really good. Unfortunately, like, kind of like Parabo, it's, like, not an especially great film career. I mean, it seemed like she did well on TV. I mean, she was on SEAL Team or whatever with David Boreanaz.
Yeah.
But, like, not exactly, like, the stuff that draws in...
She was... Yeah, she was really good on Mad Men, and it's funny because she was introduced in season 4 as a complete side character, and then something happens in season 4 to make her much more prominent that came out of nowhere, and we were all like, what the fuck? And then I remember for like the last season, there were all these people on Reddit that were talking about how she was gonna get like murdered by the Manson family because she's wearing the exact same outfit that Sharon Tate is in like certain scenes. And I was like, oh, I feel like the writers read the internet but are now just trying to fuck with us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were never gonna do it, but they were like, oh, that's fun. Let's just let's keep poking that bear a little bit. But yeah, do you remember that, Jacob?
Oh, yeah, I was deep into Mad Men. It was like I had nothing but free time because it was all happening when I was in college. So I was like watching it all happen very closely. But I remember discovering her through that show and being very impressed by someone who is like really leaning into persona and finding something to do in there. I thought that was cool.
And lastly, Misha Barton as Mouse. Prior to this, The Sixth Sense in 1999. After this, main character on The OC. And, of course, Law & Order SVU in 2010. And,
I haven't seen that one either. Oh, God. I need to get better. I'm disappointing everyone with my brand.
Well, like I said in the previous episode, I wish there was a way to just be like, I don't want to watch the whole episode. Can you just literally cut out those parts and put it on YouTube? And I feel like NBC is just like, no, fuck you. You're watching the whole episode on Peacock.
I mean, they did do that with the Emmy-winning performance from Ellen Burstyn on that show. They have all the best parts of her episode, and it's bonkers.
Oh, man. And then Spree in 2020, which is... Yeah. Trivia. Along with being Leopold's first English language movie, this was the first film in 20 years that she did not have a hand in the script. Poole read Swan's novel around 1995 at the request of her producer who had optioned the book and was searching for a director. Quote, I admired the novel, but it wasn't ready yet to work in English, and I was afraid of the ending. I had no idea how to film it. And then we already talked about the ending, so I don't have to go into that.
Look, I know it's weird at first, but now this is much more home to me than home. Like the Lost Boys and Peter Pan, right? Except we're the Lost Girls, lost and delirious.
She found herself in a new world
Want to smoke? Does it scare you?
with new friends
We're glad you're our new roommate, Mary.
and new experiences.
Their sounds, their whispers, their shadows became just like part of my dreams or something.
In each other, they found all they ever wanted.
I know what I want to do, but I can't.
A love few have ever experienced.
Love is the highest point, and once you are up there, looking down on everyone else, you're there forever.
But couldn't reveal.
Tell them the truth that I'm not like that.
Don't worry, Tora. I'll straighten everything out.
You gonna be there?
Maybe.
I hope to see you there, Tori.
Jake's a total man.
Lied to me.
Yeah! Yeah!
I cannot be with her ever. Not ever again.
Holly, this is crazy. Just forget about her, okay? For my love. Terrible! Holly, no!
Initial thoughts. This is all first watch, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Charlie, initial thoughts.
Yeah, I watched this last night, and I was rooting for it, but this thing's a goddamn mess. And there are elements that I really like. I really like all the performances, Piper Perabo in particular. I know that we may have some disagreements on here, but like I do like that her performance as someone who was in the closet in high school, the ways in which I was never as abrasive or confrontational as she is here, but I get all of the rage and all of the projecting outwards, like the anger and the self-hate, the towards heteronormative society. I think that is extremely relatable. There are things that reminded me of, honestly, some of my past behavior that I'm not proud of. When I was a very angsty person going through my first relationship with a guy, and I think it nails that.
Did you fence with him and like stab him in the kneecap or what?
Yeah, I did. No,
Oh,
I didn't.
okay.
I'm not. I don't speak sports, or play them. Yeah, like I think that the filmmaking is kind of weirdly. I touched upon it before, but there are weird choices here, and by the time you get to the point where Jessica Perry's trying to cut her off, it's just the same scene over and over again for the last 40 minutes, and it becomes really tough to watch and really monotonous and really painful. And it does, without giving away exactly what happens at the end of the movie, where it ends up building up to, it just makes everything sour in retrospect. And on top of that, why is Misha Barton the one telling this story? Like,
No
she
idea.
has no character. Like,
No idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, those are my initial thoughts.
I really do not have. I mean, you pretty much said all of it, but I thought this was a slog fest, and I'm just mystified by the ending and whatnot. And I don't know. Maybe I'll have more as far as we go along. Bryden, initial thoughts.
Yeah, so I'd never seen this before. I don't think I didn't find this a slog. It's obviously, like, extremely flawed, and it does not end well. But, like, I found this, like, weirdly just fascinating, because, like, I didn't really know what was going to happen from scene to scene. Like, at the sword fighting and all the bird training and all these other, like, Shakespeare monologues. I was just, like, I didn't really know what was going to happen from scene to scene for, like, a while here, and I found that, like, sort of the tonal shakiness, like kind of I mean, it's sloppy, of course, but like it is like kind of like it's watchable in that way to me. And I'm a sucker for a lot of coming of age movies, and like boarding school milieus are really interesting to me because as someone who didn't go to boarding school, I find like it's sort of like this sort of weird alien hermetic quality where it is like kind of like their own society. I mean, Poole talks about how like it is weird how like they are kind of like stuck in time almost, and like they don't really know much about the outside world, and it is kind of like this weird thing where it's like, so like they're just able to blast violent femmes with all those fucks and like drink spiked punch and like no one will step in. Okay,
smoke cigarettes in their own room. Yeah,
yeah. It's like
I've never understood that trope. How they will never get caught for smoking cigarettes in their room. That shit reeks. Like
yeah, but open window, so it's fine. No,
yeah.
But like it's funny how like they get certain things about like sort of like private school culture. I think like right where like like just sort of. I mean, this is like a thing that they get generally in schools, I guess, where it's like the younger kids trying to sit with the older kids and then being like immediately shooed away, like that sort of hierarchy. Like they get little things like that, right? But then like just in terms of like the geographical space, it's kind of like confusing where like it's almost like characters become aware of each other when they shouldn't be. Like there's the scene where Jessica Perry's like studying in the library, and then like you see like Papa Parabo coming in like quietly from the background, and Perry like raises her head like in awareness. It's like, how is she aware of like Parabo coming in when she can't even see her? Like, and like also when like Misha Barton's like lying in her bed and she like hears like moaning, and like she goes to the window and sees them making out on a rooftop, like Parabo and Perret. I'm like thinking, how loud are they kissing? Like, how is she able to hear that? Like is she like the lightest sleeper ever? Like it's very bizarre. And then Barton, I guess why you make her the conduit into this world is like because she's like a fresh face and everything, like in terms of like that she hasn't really had a lot of life experience. Well, I guess she has had life experience because her mom died and everything in the movie, but like she's like never really had like sort of like a companionship with like from people around her age and anything, and that's sort of like important to her, I guess. But like the thing that's the real problem is like the movie, both in like in terms of her perspective on it and also like just all the tragedy that happens, is like, to what end? Like, what do we gain from all this? I mean, isn't like one of the last lines say that like like the bird, like she like by jumping off the roof she was like set free from her pain? I'm like, wait, what? Like, are you like pro suicide?
That's not a great. Are you like
now
a great
she's
thing to
finally
say?
not hurting anymore. She's with the birds now.
Yeah, it's
the straight and gay birds.
Super weird takeaway to get from the movie.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, but Parabo is very very watchable in this. I mean, just the way that like she throws herself into like all the stuff with gusto and everything. She really like I think does make it feels very much rooted in character. Someone who is very passionate about a lot of things, like the way she's like reading along to like all the Shakespeare, like mouthing along to it, like chewing the words. And I shared today one of my Twitter conversations with Kevin about like the
liar, 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 liar. You've all got your heads up your assholes because love is. It just is, and nothing you can say can make it go away.
Like yelling at everyone in the class, like it's like you believe that she would have that reaction because she is like very outspoken, and like you believe, and like she is like very compelling when she's like drawing Martin in and everything. Like the way she's introduced is like really cool, where she's like saying like you see like smoke rising from behind the chair, and then she like pops her head up into the frame to greet Martin and like startle her. Like that's like the movie like knows that like they're working with like a very interesting character, and like the moments of humanity that come even as she's like going off the deep end and everything, like when she shoves Barton and like sort of backs away, like clutching her stomach as of like realizing, like snapping back briefly into like lucidity. Again, don't think the movie like ultimately deals with the character too well. And like it was interesting reading one article from Take One magazine where they were talking about, I mean, this is the only Leia Poole movie I've seen, but like, they were talking about how like, oh, she's like so good at like gazing into like into humans and everything, like her capacity to gaze into the human soul is the thing. And then but then they also say like, oh, this is like really kind of disjointed compared to her other movies. I'm like, damn it, why didn't I see her other movies? Like so yeah, I don't know, I'm mixed on this one, but I did find even it's the kind of movie where like I bet rewatching it, knowing where it ends up, it probably wouldn't be as satisfying. But on the first viewing, not really knowing where it was going for a while and seeing it experiment with like different tones and styles of filmmaking and even performance temperatures, I found it like kind of watchable even as it was going sideways. And we'll talk more about it, I guess, in the discussion.
Real quick, Bryden, as someone who else is a sucker for movies about kids at boarding school dealing with queerness for the first time, Wild Reads is absolutely the movie that you should see.
Oh,
as a because one of my favorite movies ever. Just got we're not sponsored by them in any way, but just got a Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray. It's amazing.
Excellent.
And,
yeah.
yeah.
I've heard it's great. I think I have access to that through my school's library. Also, the other movie I thought of, which I know you're a fan of, is Genesis, which is also set at a boarding school, partly with Theodore Pellerin, and especially it's interesting.
Incredible in that movie.
I love that performance. That guy's an incredible actor. But also, it's interesting, kind of like the arc of his character, where like him like coming out and everything, he's then branded as a predator by like others in his school. And there's kind of a similar thing happening with Parabo's character, where it's like, well, she came into my bed and everything. I don't want that and everything. And then like they're talking about like painting her character as like a rapist and everything. And it's like the really like shitty thing about like how that often happens with queer characters or queer people, I guess, like where it's like they go to like predation and everything and start using that kind of language, and it's like that's not what it is. Like a lot of the time, like it's really sad. But anyways, yeah, Genesis is that's a much better movie than this one, and French Canadian too.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that one out if anyone hasn't seen that.
Yeah. Jacob, send us home with the your initial thoughts.
That sucks. This movie's bad.
Okay.
This movie makes like every wrong decision. I don't know. Like I think everybody's right where there's an energy behind it where you're like, I have no idea where this is going. That I think is mostly generated not by Poole or the script, but by Parabo and Pere, who are excellent. They're very good. They know what they're up to. Their chemistry is great. Parabo's got like a very difficult role because she has to sell some like ridiculous stuff. And Pere's got a very like emotionally taxing and like you have to stay within the realm of realism while your scene partner's like going off the deep end. Also a tough ask, but both of them are really good. But I agree, we have one too many characters, which is like the observer character who like puts a nice another layer of distance between us and the film that we already feel a little distance from, just so we don't feel too close to these characters. We have some girl being like, and then I saw the girls in my room making out again, and I felt, well, I'll never tell. And you're like, why are you here? What are you doing? She's like, am I gay? Am I not? I don't know. I'm just here watching. And you're like, shut up. Get out of this movie.
But also, she likes to garden. That's her thing.
She likes to garden with the wise ethnic gardener. I'm like, you idiot movie.
That doesn't go
You
anywhere.
stupid movie where you're like, look, an indigenous gardener and a hawk. We're close to nature. And I'm like, you better not fucking do anything, you weird Leah Poole. I'm going to come for you. I don't know.
They also have the thing about worms laying eggs that never really pays off, but they think it does.
I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, that's weird. All right. Whatever.
Yeah.
There are a lot of little moments like that, which Brad, and I understand why you're like, you can find enough eccentricity in this movie to like, to piece your way through and to move your way through. But I think that's also why I'm so mad at the script, is because none of it adds up to like anything at all. Yeah. There's all this stuff about Parabo's character like finding herself and sort of achieving and like setting herself free, quote unquote, with the hawk. But there's also the subplot where like her mom, she's not in contact with her mom, and she's trying to like contact her through an adoption agency, and that gets rejected. And there's all of this like identity crisis stuff built up in her that is so totally ignored. And it's just like emblematic of so many of the other character moments in the movie where they're just just picked up and discarded at a whim. It's a movie that definitely has energy and definitely has chemistry and is a total mess.
Yeah. It just feels like such a betrayal to Parabo's character too, because she's the only one who is fully accepting of who she is. Well, no, not entirely, even though, I mean, there are conversations where she's like, no, I'm not a lesbian, I'm poly, and I'm in love with Perry's character. And, like that, but, like, she is the one who's the most confident in and self-assured, so to have her do what she does at the end of this movie feels like not only not psychologically believable to me, but a complete betrayal of, like, everything that it adds up to it. And I will say, I also didn't know where it was going most of the time, but, like, with less than half an hour in, I was like, I think I know where this is going, and it's going to make me very mad if it goes down this route, and then it did. So,
man, yeah. I had no idea until like the last cut, and I'm like, what? Really? Yeah. What that says to me is nothing but you hate gay kids, or you are like, this is the route that gay kids are naturally going to take, and I see no reason to alter that or to shoot an alternate reality.
Which is wild because Leia Poole is gay, which is like very interesting. I don't know about Judith Thompson. And then the other weird thing in the interview was like the author Susan Swan describes herself as an armchair bisexual, and I'm like, don't know what that means.
What does that mean?
Yeah, that was in the Advocate that Swan was quoted, and I was.
It's like you're like a bisexual, but you're not getting any.
and the way the ending is filmed too is like laughably
so
bad. Laughably bad, and it nearly looks like she's about to say, "It's all for you, Damien." Like it's just like it really does.
Oh my god! If we had found out that maybe there was a demon involved, then some of this would have made some sense.
But then, like, demons with queerness, it's like, what are you saying with that, then?
Again, what do we say? There's nothing good about queerness in here, really.
Yeah.
I do agree, Charlie, there's some, like, man, there's some real honest emotions that Parabo gets to in that, like, freak-out scene. And, well, a couple of the freak-out scenes, because, I mean, they kind of go on for, again, like, the last half hour of the movie.
A while.
Yeah, but, I mean, she taps into some real, some raw shit that I think is good.
It's better than the movie deserves, frankly.
For sure.
I mean, like, she goes above and beyond to sell this stuff. And I like that she's kind of abrasive and insufferable most of the time, because you're a teenager, you're full of shit most of the time, which this movie does fully understand, even though the movie is also making it very clear, in a very confused way, that she is absolutely the one most in touch with reality and what, that society is wrong for putting pressure on her and Perry and everyone. That's the other thing too. All the adults in this movie, I texted Bryden and Kevin, I'm like, is this like Strangers with Candy, where there are just two teachers in this whole school? Like,
I think so. There's two teachers, and they're together, or they used to be. It's like it's implied that they used to be. And the older one, played by Jackie Burroughs, is, I think she does a good job with nothing, and I feel like there was a version of that character that the plot line was way more fleshed out, because it is there are all these sort of tendrils pushed out there of being like, I'm queer, I know you're queer, I can mentor you through this, or I can help you through this.
Yeah, she talked about having had like a nervous breakdown before.
Right, like a quote nervous breakdown, which, again, who knows what this means, because as bad as this movie is with space and defining where people are and how they relate to each other, it's also bad at defining time. I have no idea what time period this is set in.
No, I have no idea. Yeah.
I'm like, aside from the very beginning where they like put it, maybe I don't know what they put, a CD or a cassette into, something.
In the boombox.
They put something in a boombox and it plays, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, I guess that's when this is, because the rest of the movie could be any time.
Well, no, you know what? I do remember the line, actually, because it's when Emily Van Camp bursts in on them sleeping together. Piper Perabo says, like, so fucking what? It's the 21st century. That's the line that gives you the
it's the
clue.
21st century. She looks straight at the camera. So what? It's the year.
I love when that's in movies that are at the turn of the decade. Or it's just like, it's the 90s. It's a movie from 1990.
It's the year 2000.
Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
We can do anything now.
It's also a movie in which all of the subtext is talked about in classroom settings very explicitly.
Right. Yeah.
Man.
Which, like, you can do that once in a movie and I'll be like, fine, but like, I mean, you also tweeted about this last night, Jacob, but I texted them before I even, Brad and Kevin, before I even saw the tweet. I'm like, I love that this is a movie in which the English teacher writes love so big on a chalkboard that it takes up the entire board.
Hi, welcome to our boarding school. We teach one class, and it's called Lesbian Love Affairs in Fiction.
Yeah, it's like the scene. Think of just like right on the chalkboard. It's like the scene in Wild Things where it's like sex.
No, I got the same thing.
And then like cries. Boo.
Boo. What?
Also, this movie ending with the duel between the two characters made me think of The Skulls, which I watched recently, which also ends with characters going like, "We're gonna solve this by dueling," except in that case it's anti-pistols instead of sword fights.
Yeah. Gotta watch that terrible garbage, The Skulls.
So bad. It's
Duel.
Cool.
See, the duel could have been really cool in a totally different movie.
I do like Luke Kirby as the shitty jock that she's dating, who's like, I'll have you know, I'm on the wrestling team. And like, that's sort of like, I think I'm hot shit tone that he brings to some of his other performances, like in Take This Waltz and everything, where like, I think that's a really well observed character, even though he's like not really given a lot on the page. But yeah, it then like, it's followed by the ending, so it kind of like dilutes its effects.
Yeah, Kirby's good. It's his first movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's his debut, and I think you're right. He's a lot of fun. He's smarmy, but he's approachable. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
you can see why someone would be into him.
Yeah, you can see why he's like the hot one of the friend group.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Let's get into this absolutely normal, nothing weird happens plot. Mary, nicknamed Mouse, is a new student at the all-girls boarding school in dorms with Polly and Tori. In an effort to get the shy Mary to break out of her shell, Polly and Tori involve her in their activities, such as running in the morning. Gotta break her out of her shell. Want to go for a run?
They like really nag her. They're like, "You're pretty out of shape, you fat bitch." And you're like, "Whoa, damn, dude, she's tiny."
Yeah,
she's
her
14.
name is
Leave her alone.
Mouse, man.
When they hear that Mary's mother has died, Polly nicknames her Mary Brave. Sure. Mary observes the intimacy between her two dorm mates. That's one way to put it. Peering out a window at night, she sees them kissing on a roof. And I'm pretty sure she's just like, I think they're practicing for boys. Yes.
Also, it's like in the middle of the day on the roof where I'm like, Misha Barton is not the only person who can see this right now. Like, the entire school is probably aware of what's going on, and yet...
Which is funny, because then Piper Perabow's sister... Wait, no. It's the other one's sister.
Paray's sister, Emily Van Camp.
Paray, yeah. Emily Van... Yeah. That she is just like, this is the whole thing that has happened. But it's just like... Did nobody else see y'all openly making out for a good 10 minutes?
And like they're holding,
You guys are constant holding hands. You're kissing everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, they're testing the waters and everything, like seeing like how much can we really get away with. Yeah.
And just like what are the other? It did make me think. So what does everyone else in this school think is going on, or what are their lives like? Are they just that dumb? Like,
it made me want to think who shared this? Who had that bed like a week ago? You know, who was their roommate a week ago where they're like, oh, her? Well, she didn't shut up like you did, Mouse. When she heard us fucking, she was like, school marm. We took care of her with my pet hawk.
I also like the one bit, like it's just kind of funny to hear this like when the rumors are breaking out about like Paray being gay, the one friend says like, "Ah, it's the 21st century, and also my aunt's gay." It's just it's funny to hear that in like movies and TV, and also real life. It's like, well, I'm fine with it. I know someone who's gay. It's like,
But that's the other thing that's so weird is like, what, like there's that one throwaway line and that's it. That's expected to do so much heavy lifting, where it's like, okay, so why aren't you friends with Piper Perabo then? If you do know what's going on, like, why aren't you trying to talk there? I don't know. It's high school.
It also made me think of the
weird,
Seinfeld episode where it's like, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's like, I have plenty of gay friends. My father's gay.
It just made me think of the... Oh, sorry, Kevin.
I was just going to say that I wanted to see a version of this movie where it's Dead Man on Campus, but it's Piper Perabo just killing roommates with her hawk.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Holy shit.
The entire time this movie just made me think of a gag in the Onion News Network. It's a sketch where they think teens are turning to shamanism when they're just smoking weed, and there's one person who's like, I took away my son's magic wand and sent him to military school. Good for you. Yeah, but there he's seduced by the trickster god Coyote that makes boys want to kiss other boys. And it's like all I can think of watching this movie.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure the character of Mary, one, does not know that gay people exist, and then further on in the movie when she catches Tori having sex with whatever that guy's name is, she's just like, what were they doing out there? And it's just like, do you not also know what sex is either?
I love thinking that
goodness.
she's just like really not fazed by it. She's like, man, this stuff happens all the time back home. People getting railed against trees.
Well, it's just like the tonal dissonance too of the movie, where it's like this very like kind of like plaintive music, and then it pans to Piper Perabo running from the woods, and it's like dun, 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 dun.
Oh, she's like full ass Naruto running away from that. It's crazy. Before we move on, I just remembered something that I wanted to bring up about Mary's character from the novel. That is another thing that would have made this movie 100 times more insane if they had included. Is that apparently in the book the main character has a hump, like a hunchback hump, and the main character has named the hump after her dead mother, and she talks to it and has like jokes with it, and that's sort of like how the narration is defined in the book. It is all textual conversations with hump mom. And you know what this movie
turns
could
into
have used?
Malignant?
It's a malignant.
Cool. Yeah.
It's a malignant mom.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh.
But instead of it being like a twist or anything, it's just like 5 minutes into it, she gets out of the car and she's just like, "No, be quiet."
Be cool. I think they're having sex.
Don't be nervous. Yeah, just to talk. Oh god. Oh Jesus Christ. Ugh.
Polly and Tori's relationship is close, and Polly is full of life. Who wrote this? At one point, she turns a quiet afternoon on the campus into a music blasting dance party. No, it's not a music blasting dance party. Shut up.
I like that she literally just puts some alcohol in the punch and is like, "Is everyone ready to party?" And no one takes a sip of it but adults, and every other teen is automatically drunk by association. Like,
pretty much.
I also wonder how much of the budget went to getting added up by Violent Femmes, because I imagine that song doesn't come cheaply, given how popular it is.
Yeah, I wish I knew the budget, but I can't say it's anything over 5, maybe even 3. But yeah, probably doesn't come cheap.
what if it was Clocks by Coldplay?
Oh my gosh.
Mother of God.
Fix You.
Would that even come out? So
I think maybe that was a year earlier.
What's the other?
Sorry.
It's Yellow by Coldplay. That they're dancing with the
There you
same
go.
speed, but like it's
Jacob,
that song.
we covered the movie Confidence a couple weeks ago, and that's a con movie that ends with Clocks by Coldplay.
most deranged
That's
needle
pretty
drop I've ever
good. I
heard.
think just put your Coldplay in when you can get it. People aren't dropping enough millions of dollars on Coldplay needle drops anymore.
It's like the Monkey's Paw though, where it's just the Chainsmokers mashups that they start putting in movies. And it's like shit, damn it.
That's tough. That's tough.
Music blasting dance party and spikes the punch. In another moment, she defends Tori from a frustrated math teacher who humiliates her when she doesn't understand basic math. That's not basic math, okay?
I
but
could not
whatever.
understand that.
Yeah,
either.
it really put me back in a bad place when I saw those math problems on the board.
Well, especially when Tori goes up there and is like, "What is X? What really is X? Have we ever thought about that?" I was like, "Yeah,
I was like,
that's me."
Stalin. Jeez.
When the three are running one day, Polly comes across a hurt falcon, which she befriends. After reading up on falcons, she trains the When she's tending to the falcon, Mary and Tori come across some boys from the nearby boys' school. What were you gonna say, Brad?
Well, I don't know. It's like the Parabo, I think, makes that subplot more interesting than it should be. Again, it's the physicality of the performance and everything when she's like running in and she's like quite literally like spreading her arms like wings and everything running into the forest, and like the sort of misty quality of the forest like has a nice look. But like it is like a lot. It's like a lot of it where it's like you were really thinking this is more interesting than maybe it should be. But yeah.
Yeah, I was like, did I miss something? Is she like gonna be
she's having a Gandalf trip
veterinarian,
to get the encyclopedia out of the library. She's looking at pictures of hawks and like furrowing her brow, going,
stealing mice from the
totally
cages to feed them.
Yeah, that was insane.
Look, gay people get pets when they go through a breakup. I got a cat. Piper Parabo got
You
a
get
falcon.
your familiar. Yeah, the familiar chooses you.
Yeah.
I gotta Photoshop Piper Parabo and a hawk on an Anamorphics book cover.
A joke for exactly one person's Leopold.
Oh no! I just had the terrible. Do you know how they flip when you flip through the Animorphs books? They like fully turn into the hawk. It's just the ending of the movie when you flip through it.
Oh God! Where's that hawk go?
Oh,
Not
the hawk's
not
okay.
transformed fast enough.
Yeah.
One of the boys flirts with Tori, asking if she will be attending her brother's 18th birthday party, and makes it clear that he likes her. When Mary and Tori are alone, Tori expresses disgust at the boy's interest in her, saying he liked my tits. I don't know why this needs to be added. When Mary asks if she'd go to the party, Tori says, "And have all those gross guys groping me, I'd rather stay home." Over time, Polly and Tori become more comfortable showing affection in front of Mary. It progresses from a quick kiss on the lips in front of her to the two sharing a bed while Mary is sleeping. I feel like Mary has not gotten a decent night's sleep since she's been there.
And she loves it, that little freak. Speak up.
Yeah. I will also say all of the guys are... I do think it's interesting that it's, written and directed and starring all women, and then the guys are all just like, "Hey, do you want to fuck me?" Like, basically, like plainly. Like, it's like, what did they say? "Do you sexy girls want to go have a cigarette or a spliff?"
Yeah,
like,
you want to split a spliff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure one of them is on the other cross team. Anyways, one morning, Tori's sister and friends rush into the room to wake up to the older Wake up the older girls. This is so weirdly translated. Polly is laying in Tori's bed, and it's clear that the two are topless. Horrified silence falls over everybody, and Polly unconvincingly claims she was in bed with Tori because the latter has nightmares. Just a top tier, just terrible cover. You know, she has nightmares, so I get naked and get in bed, and then it helps her. You know,
look, I get it. I you know, sleeping with your partner is a beautiful thing, but like they are really sloppy with this shit.
They're so
like,
bad. They had absolutely no plan, and they knew that her sister comes in all the time.
All the time.
Like, think of a plan, guys. If you know your family is rampantly homophobic, come up with a plan.
Just set an alarm for an hour before your sister usually shows up. Something. Anything.
We know you have alarms. It's the 21st century.
Or just, I don't know, lock the goddamn door.
Well, maybe they don't allow
sleep.
locks because it's a boarding school. I don't know. Yeah.
That would suck.
Put the desk up against the door. They're moving the bed around all the time. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piper Perabo has a big, Jacob Oller poster, you know. Gotta rearrange
I
that.
forgot about that detail. That's pretty funny.
Mary pushes Tori's sister out of the room and closes the door. Tori angrily tells Polly to get out of her bed. When confronted by her sister, she tries to extinguish her sister's suspicions by telling her Polly has an unrequited crush on her and crawled into her bed. Her sister promises to, quote, fix the rumors about Tori and not tell their parents about it. As she walks away from this conversation, Tori collapses in tears with the worst post-production slow motion I've ever seen. And she walks away for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's rough.
In the library, Tori explains to Mary that her family, her parents, and her sister, you could have just said her family, are strongly homophobic and she must stop the relationship to prevent her rejection. Pretty sure this is a scene where she's talking to Mary about Polly, and Polly's like, I don't know, 3 feet away.
Well, yeah, you do see, I think, someone in the foreground also like turning their head, like they're like eavesdropping on the hot gossip, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I brought this up in the But I'm a Cheerleader episode. It's interesting, like, the sort of class differences that's established between Polly and Tori. Yes, I had to remember her name. Like, where it's like, you know, Polly doesn't really come from money and everything. Meanwhile, like, Tori is, like, going on vacation to, like, Italy or whatever for the summer. And it's, like, I don't know. And I think you meet her parents, like, once at the end of the movie when they have, like, the dance at the end. And, like, her father seems like a total robot. It's like, good evening, which is very, very weird.
There's so much interesting stuff in that identity stuff and the parent thing that is just totally discarded, just not touched.
Yeah,
there's like, oh yes, we come from Richie Rich stick up ass family, and we're afraid of showing who we are. Meanwhile, Polly comes from, who knows, like her mom like died at the hospital or whatever, and the hospital took her in. She comes from literally nothing, and so has no framework to reject, and so she's okay being who she is, and none of that's touched.
Nope.
Just to clarify, it's like her mom, like, I think was like maybe was homeless or something like that, or like was not wealthy and like wasn't able to take care of her.
Or she
so
give her
was
away
taken
right at the hospital,
and then that's when she gets the letter, like after trying to track her down.
That's
to the
right.
adoption
That's
agency,
right.
Like, she does not want to be found.
Yeah.
What does she also say in her letter that she writes to her? We should grab a beer sometime. I'm like,
When
you're like 17.
Since you're not selling your ass anymore, is the line. And like, and then I made the joke. It's like the Seinfeld episode where it's like they're reading like the anti-Semitic speech. It's like, you're not gonna open with that, are you?
I am not O'Brien. I am not O'Brien. Yeah. Where are we at? Mary sympathizes with both of her friends as she too feels rejected by her father, who does not bother to show up to a father-daughter dance. The breakup is not clear, though. Polly degenerates into abusive behavior, like destroying a mirror and thrashing a dish cart to the floor. Those examples are very funny. Destroying the mirror and then asking Mouse to cut her hair with a shard of glass. I was just like,
that
was
very
rough.
It was a very cringeworthy scene, especially considering, you know, Piper Perabo was reading that, probably thinking like, and then I'm gonna ask her to cut my hair with a shard of glass.
We're not gonna do this for real, right?
yeah. Like,
she is sent further over the edge after receiving a letter from the agency that handed her adoption, saying that her birth mother refused a request from Polly to get in touch. Meanwhile, Tori dates the guy she met from the boys' club and hardly speaks to Polly, which is very funny because they sleep like, I don't know, like 6 inches apart, and there's like Tori's about to go out, and Polly's just like, so where you going, huh? Like, and all that. It's like, it's very hard for them to be separated when they, live in such a small room. I thought that was funny. Tori has sex with her boyfriend, which prompts Polly to declare a duel with him. Just total bullshit. After she kicks his leg during a fencing match, throwing him to the ground, she demands that he give up her queen. When he brushes her off, she stabs him in the leg. Mary rushes to stop her. Polly then runs off. Mary runs to the victorious soccer match, which is being watched by the principal and the main teacher. Just after reaching the group, Mary sees Polly sobbing from the top of a building. Crying out for her beloved, she jumps to her death. Just looking for another thing that says this is all a dream. Oh, wait, no, this is
because we talked about the game in our previous episode, I was like, what if this movie had the exact same ending as the game? Where they catch Piper Parabo and they're like, just kidding!
Just kidding. We love gay people here.
Yeah, and then, like, again, like, I want to, like, pull up the voiceover because it's, like, really bad, where it's like Mary saying, like, and just like the raptor, that little flame was all I needed in order to see in the dark. It saved me, Mama, from the deep dark. Polly, she didn't have that. The darkness took over her, so she had to fly away. I still dream of her every night, and I think I always will. I can always remember your face now, and blah, blah, blah. I'm, like, saying, like it really does, like, just sort of, like, end where it's, like, and then all this happened, and, that's it. I guess I'll always remember it. It's
Polly?
Like, great.
She killed herself. Why? She didn't have a mom or something. Well, we all learned something today. No. Anyway.
What did we learn?
What did we learn today, folks?
Jerry Blank from Strangers with Candy just shows up. I've got something to say.
The last like 3 sentences of that plot synopsis are insane and happen in like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, she stabs him and somehow gets on top of the school in, like, maybe 2 minutes.
Well, she kicks his leg. We have to be clear that she is a cheater at fencing. She doesn't do regulation fencing.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
He doesn't know what he's getting into. He says, like, oh, we're going to do, like, stage combat? Great, I was in Hamlet. This will work. And
this dude's a real All-American. He can do everything. He's wrestling team. He's the lead in Hamlet.
Also, is the fencing thing just supposed to be about phallic imagery of her basically being like, I have a bigger dick than you or something? Like why fencing?
Yeah,
it doesn't really serve a point.
I imagine it's like, what do fancy boarding school kids get up to that you can use to be like a physical contest where we can have like a battle of the sexes.
Yeah,
for this woman's soul.
And Parabo, in the interview she did with The Advocate, she said, like, she tries to prepare her characters physically if she can. She said, Polly's so great in that she's a fencer, which for me makes it an obvious place to start with how to build her, how she squares off her shoulders when she walks. So the way I started was to study fencing. And it's, like, again, like a case of, like, yeah, there's not a whole lot to the character, but, like, at least Parabo, like, really tried to make a meal out of everything that she was working with. So that's cool. Also funny, we were talking about the teachers and, like, the faculty and everything. It's funny, like, when they're running off to the duel, it's like Misha Barton and Piper Parabo running out in the open with swords in their hands, and Graham Greene sees it, but no, he's more focused on the bird that flies above him than, like, the swords.
Oh my god, that made me so mad. I was like, they're gonna do, I was like, as soon as there was an indigenous character and a fucking falcon, I was like, they're gonna do something weird. I know they're gonna do something weird, these white people. And they absolutely did. They're like, there goes some kids stealing school equipment. But a hawk. And I'm like, shut up, you stupid movie.
It just, the last 40 minutes, on top of being bonkers, it just feels really, really cruel in retrospect. Like,
I mean, yeah.
Again, because what do we get from it other than, like, and then this awful shit happened, and the end. Like, it's like, I don't really know what, like, they're pulling.
Right, and it's not like Mouse learns anything. Like, that voiceover is insane. Yeah. It's not, that's where you can, as a director, kind of mop up your mess, or try to, and this doesn't even try to. It's like, all right, we made a mess, let's dump a little bit more mess in there, I guess. Oops. Cause,
it makes me think that after all that happened, they were like, so are we going to finish the soccer game, or what?
God. It does make me feel bad for Misha Barton, because she's a good actress, and she was not really given anything to do. She does the most with what she can, but, like...
But imagine if she had a hump that she talked to. That would be pretty crazy.
It's like Nicholas Hoult in Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, that would have been really cool.
But just like in the game, imagine if at the end, like, Misha Barton holds up a shirt that's like, I pretended to be demented and befriended a hawk, and all I got was a stupid shirt.
What if the camp from But I'm a Cheerleader came over to protest Piper Perabo? like they're on the other side of the field with all those picket signs and just like, oh no.
Oh yes, the cheerleader Lost and Delirious cinematic universe, of course. Final thoughts on Lost and Delirious.
I can't believe Roger Ebert liked this movie. It boggles my mind.
Gave it
3.5 stars. I don't know what film festival he saw it at, but he was riding high on something.
Well, they cited it in the Take One article where I just find this like quote that they took from his review is like, Roger Ebert called it one of the best crafted, most professional films at the Sundance Festival. And it's like, professional? Now you're really scraping the barrel for compliments. If you're calling your movie professional.
Ebert pulled a 10-hour day and was like, yeah, this one's a movie.
I also saw, and to be fair, it was probably a very little known festival, but like in one film festival, this won a award for cinematography, and I'm like, why? Like,
oh yeah,
like what is like, I don't understand why this. There must have been some real shit at that festival.
And
Jesus,
they pointed out that cinematography in the Take One article. Sorry to be pointing just from that one thing, but I looked him up. It's Pierre Gill, who also shot some of Denis Villeneuve's Quebecois films before he became like a blockbuster director. He shot like Polytechnique and some other things
before he got replaced by Deakins.
Yeah, Deakins and whoever shot. I can't remember who shot Dune. It was someone else, but
everything this movie tries to do, Wild Reeds does, but better. Although the sad thing is, Wild Reeds is mainly about. It does have a female protagonist in it, but it is mainly about queer men, not queer women. It kind of really bummed me out that this is a movie directed by a queer woman, all about queer women at an all-female boarding school, and it ends up being little more than a bury your gays aughts movie. Like, it's just a bummer.
Yeah. On the Ebert tip, I have the DVD, which I waited 2.5 weeks to get from Canada because it said it had director's commentary, and I was like, there's not a lot about this movie, so I waited, and it fucking lies. There's no director's commentary. But anyways, the front, Roger Ebert, erotic, gorgeous, a supremely told story.
Oh, yeah, speaking of which, I mean, look, yes, there is eroticism in the sex scenes and anything, but I watched also his research for this, the Craig Kilborn late night interview that he did with Piper Perabo, and just like, if you want to get a sense of how bad culture was in like the early 2000s, you first have like the overly male crowd whooping when the movie mere mention of lesbianism comes up, and also Craig Kilborn making cracks like, you know, this movie is about 3 lesbian women. No, it's not. It's about 2. But I guess he didn't see the movie. But he said like it's about 3 lesbian women, which means $4 to $5 million opening weekend. And then I was like, okay, yeah. And then he also said, with this like 5 question segment, it's like, you play a lesbian in this movie, name 5 other hot actresses to Piper Perabo, and she's just like having to laugh and play along with it. I'm like, I feel so bad for you right now.
I will also say it's sometimes fun to look at the content warning on IMDb, but under the sex and nudity one for this, the first thing says is the girls are not underage when nudity was shown. They were in their 20s. Don't know what that person was talking about. And I'm like, what?
Like, you uncovered a narrative.
Yeah. Like,
That's a short story right there. Yeah, I don't know. The one sex scene, there's just one, right?
Yeah. There's the sex scene between the two, Perabo and Perret, and then there's the sex scene with Perret and Kirby, I think is like.
That's like a crazy scene, right? But the sex scene between the 2 leads is like, oh sure, chemistry. You are shooting this, I guess, artfully.
It's like sort of blue moonlight, like coming in, like shining in on them.
Right, but it's their chemistry is showcased better in every scene where they like kiss or hold hands or are just in bed together. Obviously, these actors get like very comfortable together, and you can really tell. But like, I don't know. After just watching But I'm a Cheerleader, I'm like, oh, But I'm a Cheerleader has like an excellent sex scene compared to this, and it comes after like a lot of very silly shit. And to just like bang out like, oh, and also we have a pretty, functional sex scene too. It's like, oh, okay, do it all, no problem.
One thing I will say was funny reading research where it was like writers often like trying to think like, how can I work the title Lost and Delirious into this?
We got it like 5 minutes.
I couldn't believe how quickly they name dropped it.
It's so dumb too. Like, we're like the Lost Girls. Well, Lost and Delirious. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What, did you just read a DVD case of this movie? Your own movie?
Also, why are you saying that like it's a great thing? like
Not only are we lost and delirious, we're actually erotic, gorgeous, and we are a supremely told story.
Well, like the Lost Girls. Well,
It's
like,
like-
the supremely well told erotic story of the Lost Girls.
There's even like a beat as if like that's when the audience is supposed to cheer at one point, because Misha Barton just kind of like stands there.
Well,
Just, like, dead
that's a lot of her
silence.
performance, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Almost Major. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Please follow the pod on Twitter at Almost Major to keep up to date with what movies we will be covering in the future. Myself, I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at Kev Bonesy. Bryden can be found on Twitter at Bryden Doyle and on Letterboxd at J Doyle. Charlie can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at CT Nash91. Once again, thank you for listening.